I wasn't sure about doing a video on this since it's so much to consider for the audience. People need context for this. They need a recap of everything that's happened so far, things that happened in previous videos, and all this other stuff. There's so many of these events that have happened before in the past, and the very last one ended abruptly, and I don't think I ever made a video about it, so I can talk a little bit about that, and then, of course, what we got now. Because it doesn't seem like this time it's abruptly ending. This time it seems like we're going to get a full story arc this time, a full storyline like we got previously. So what am I talking about? Years ago, and I'm talking real life time here now, years ago, an NPC appeared in Ponytown, and it obviously wasn't official, and it wasn't, as far as I know, controlled by developers or anything like that, but essentially it would go around and offer quests to Ponytown players and stuff like that, and if you completed its quest, it would give you some kind of clue or something like that, and there was some sort of story being told here in the game through this mystery of the NPC. Now, if you want a more in-depth version of the original mystery, you can check that out by clicking the playlist on the top right. But the mystery continued through various storylines and NPCs and everything else like that, leading us up to a sword mystery, which was the most recent storyline that started, that I never made a video about because we didn't really get a whole lot of information out of. At least I don't think we made a video about it anyway. But the sword appeared on an island in Ponytown, the little island in that big lake. It appeared there, and it was asking if we were worthy. It followed it up with a lot of questions that we all worked together to try and solve. We never solved it, and the story abruptly ended. And as far as I know, I don't think the creator ever gave a full explanation as to why, at least not an explanation that I can remember, but it has finally returned. Not the sword exactly, but this new NPC character has returned. This new character, their name is Whistle, and they're awkward and shy and apparently always late. But they're important somehow. We don't know exactly how important they are, but a wise one told her that they're important, and by extension, that means we have been told that. We now know that she's important in some way. Now, a wise one for those that are confused, that haven't been following so far, because of course, again, you need more context, which is another reason why I was debating on whether or not I wanted to do this. But wise ones are these sort of like leaders of this faraway land called Nigaria, and they're also insanely smart. They're like the smartest of the smart, and they're extremely powerful in terms of magic. They have a lot of magic and all this other stuff, and so they're leaders for that reason. Now, Whistle doesn't feel like she belongs in this faraway land. She doesn't feel like she belongs in this Nigaria, so she's trying to figure out why she belongs, and she does some magic with this cauldron, and it shows the island that the sword appeared on in her cauldron. And so now we're like, okay, yeah, things are starting to connect and stuff. She goes there, she goes to the actual island in the game, which leads to some in-game player interaction and stuff like that. As far as I know, again, I wasn't there for this, but what I was told is that they supposedly took a sample off the island and then left. So they took a sample and then they left, I guess, to try and figure out why maybe that island is special to them. And so they did that and they left. And that was pretty much it. That was all we got up until recently, where we saw her interact with another new character, one that we've never seen before. She was asking about 972, which is another wise one. There's a lot of different characters here. Now, this wise one was a character that existed many, many years ago in lore, not in real life, but a character that existed in the lore of this weird universe many, many years ago. And this teacher, this other wise one, whoever they are, I'm assuming they're a teacher because they kind of gave off like a teacher kind of vibe there. They said that this 972 character is basically a myth. Most likely a myth. Maybe not even a real thing. If they are real, they're insane. Whistle asked about the sword, because the character 972 is always depicted with a sword. And so they said that they've always been depicted that way because they've just always been depicted that way. They apparently have always carried a sword around, and that's kind of a neat little thing. But the character does insist that the 972 is just a myth, and either was not real or was very insane. Now, I want to kind of talk about the lore of this 972 character a little bit, because we do have a little bit of that. So there's a little snippet of lore here that we've gotten before. The tale of 972 is one of knowledge, a wise pony who cracked the code of magic. It is said that they unlocked all the secrets of magic and completed Garia's work. Instead of sharing these secrets, 972 was forced to let them die with them. 972 became subject to horrors unimaginable in desperate attempts from ponies to learn their secrets. 972 swore to all that the knowledge could only be shared with those that were worthy of it. It wasn't a choice that they made, but one that the magic itself chose. Among the few secrets that 972 did share, magic was often referred to many times as being sentient. Ever since 972 disappeared, there has been no confirmation of the truth, and slowly everyone lost faith that 972 knew anything at all. After the weird interview thing where they were talking about 972 and stuff like that, Pumpulse, which is another wise one that we know about from a long time ago, they showed up and everything, and they were in game and they were looking for something. They didn't specify what they were looking for apparently, but they said nothing felt the same since the whole Marion situation, which again, the Marion situation was a storyline that happened recently. Not recently, but it was the most recent storyline. It was the one right before this whole sword storyline started. And it was a whole crazy situation. It was very insane, but very fun. We know about that situation, like I said, because we got to play through that story as well, but we don't know what's going on. We don't know what is off about this character, like the world, I guess, that's happening right now. We're assuming it has something to do with the sword, and we're assuming that's what they're looking for, but who knows? Now, all of that is a recap of what we have gone through during the sword storyline, as well as what's happened so far here. Now, some key clues included with all of this is the image of Whistle with her cauldron, because in the image there's other hidden images inside that image. Maybe they're important. Regardless, most of them are things we've seen before or characters we've seen before and weird stuff like that. They could be anything. Who knows? But it is definitely possibly a clue, so I wanted to mention that here. Now, another clue we have, of course, are some of the questions that the sword asked, which here are the questions that we have received before in the past and tried to answer. Starting with, are you worthy? That's how it always starts. And then you would say yes or no or I don't know or whatever else, and then it would carry on with the questions. I remember it being like, well, we shall see, shall we, or something like that. Anyway, the next question is, what am I? Followed by, if there are 1,200 with magic, 972 without magic, and 37 of them in total are evil, which side do you take? Another one, the journey begins at a loss, is stumped by more loss, and ends with loss. What was the journey for? If the tree falls with no witness, does it have value? Kind of a play on the original, like, does it fall in the forest? Does it make a sound or something like that? That's kind of what that one's similar to. Anyway, what is it that you most desire was another question that we got. We know from previous encounters that the wise ones, like I said before, are also trying to get this sword and try to become worthy of it. They've also answered questions from it and asked questions to it. They also talked about trying to contain it and hide it. They said everyone wants it. We should find a way to contain it. We tried that last time. It does not like it. It doesn't like it. How much have you been listening? This is no ordinary magical artifact. We have to find the worthy one and keep it hidden without it knowing we are keeping it hidden. That's what the wise one said. We don't know exactly who these characters are because in the Discord server for it or whatever like that, it's just random text. We have no idea who these characters are that are saying this. It could be Pumpulse. Hey, hell, it could be 972 for all we know. But it is some random characters for certain. Now, moving on, there's some other stuff that they also talked about. They also, we also got another snippet of their conversations and stuff like that too later on. But again, we don't know who these characters are, but it is some kind of conversation that's happening. They said, how can none of us be worthy? Does the sword not know who we are? And then someone replied, I think it knows exactly who we are, and that is why we are unworthy. And then follow up, what questions have it asked? Maybe we can work together to come up with the right answers. And then it just lists off some of the questions that I listed off earlier. And then someone said, that's not the same questions I got. And they're like, what, really? Well, I had all those ones too, but I had some about the meaning of nature and all this other stuff. And so they had them list off. And so here's a couple of more questions that this wise one character, this mystery character, has received that we have not received. One of them being wings, hooves, horns. How should they be ordered? Another one being, what is the meaning of nature? And another one saying, you are approached by a desperate child who tells you the sky is black, the water is green, and the grass is blue. What color are their clothes? And then they kind of complain about, like, that's 3 more than the rest of us, and there could be hundreds more questions we haven't even heard of. How far off are we? And another one saying, I don't think it matters. We clearly aren't worthy. We should monitor it and find out who is worthy when they come. And then we can contact them, get the answers we've been waiting for. And then that's the end of that little segment. that was actually the last thing we heard up until recently this year, because that stuff that I just shared there was way back 2021. I'm talking, that's literally how long ago that was. But those are all the questions that we've received so far from the sword. Feel free to try to answer those in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think the answer to that might be, and it may also help us because we may be able to use those, and maybe they're the correct answers. Who knows? But other than that, I think that's everything that we know so far regarding this sword story arc. If you guys want to help, which I think that's more than welcome, you guys definitely should consider helping. If you see this Whistle character or any of these other characters, definitely interact with them, talk to them. They might send you on some quests, they might give you some clues, some information, or whatever else, and overall it might just be fun for you anyway. But yeah, if you see any more information, figure out anything else, leave them in the comments below. And yeah, I think that's it. I think together we can solve this just like we solved all the other ones and have a good fun time doing it. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below if you are interested in this, if you want to see more from this, because there is, of course, the playlist on the top right that you can watch the rest of this at. But I'm not sure if I want to keep sharing these kinds of storylines and stuff like that, because the more I do it, the more people have to catch up on it, basically, because there's so much story before this one that you guys basically have to catch up on to be able to properly help with this. Of course, you can still help by just interacting with Whistle if they show up and all this other stuff. But yeah, just let me know what your thoughts are on this mystery as a whole, if you've seen the characters, what they've done, if you have seen them, and all that other jazz. But for now, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please do consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and doing all those wonderful things like that. Because when you do wonderful things like that, not only do you get access to wonderful content such as this, but you also get to become wonderful yourself. And I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.